And I'll tell you, it's going to be a bad, bad time. And then I ended it with, then comes our hero to earth. And Jesus is our hero. So I wanted to explain also, this was brought to my attention, and it's a good point. A lot of times when I was given scriptures, I'm jumping around from this chapter to that chapter, and you say, man, this isn't making sense. But what it is Revelation is not written in chronological order. And so when you give these different things that are happening, you're going to jump around in Scripture, even in the Old Testament when you're bringing it in and stuff. So if you get confused and get wondered about it, why, that's the reason why. It's just that it's not in chronological order. It's not that I'm taking it out of place from the order in which it's happening. So if everyone understands that, we'll get started. Okay, while all these judgments were going on here on earth, there's going to be two things that are going to be taking place in the heavenlies. One of them is the judgment seat of Christ. We, as Jesus' bride, when we're brought up into the heavenlies or brought up with him, we will have to go through the judgment seat of Christ. Now, it's not a judgment like the great white throne judgment or anything. It is a judgment for saved, the bride. In other words, we're going to be rewarded for what we do. We're going to be tested, all of our works. They're going to be put through the fire. Do we do it for rewards, or do we do it actually because we love the Lord and we want to see his work go forth? You know, I mean, we could easily say, did you see this, God? I put that and the money into the basket. Another reward. It's not going to work that way. All that stuff is going to be burned up. We have to do it in the right manner from a heart that's right with him. And especially if we're the bride of Christ. I mean, that's hard for me to try and talk that way. As a male, I think of myself as groom, you know, and I can't think of myself as bride. But the more I'm getting into it, the more it's becoming easier and easier. And if I really love Jesus, I want to do it for his sake and his glory. So the judgment seat of Christ will take place. Also then, after the judgment seat of Christ, the marriage supper of the Lamb will be taking place. That's also up in the heavens. And that takes place in Revelation 19, verse 8 and 9. They say a Jewish wedding back in Jesus' day would last for 7 days. In fact, that's why they ran out of wine, because they would last so long. But this one, guess what? It's lasting for 7 years. Can you imagine the celebration that's going to take place during all that time? And then while we're down here on earth, as we brought up last week, Babylon's going to be destroyed during this time. And Jesus himself made a prophecy that when Babylon's destroyed, he says this in Matthew 24, he's going to return back to earth. And if you remember where he left, the angels told the disciples, why are you looking up that he's coming back? That's in Acts 11:1. But Jesus is going to return to that very same spot. And he's going to bring his bride with him. You and I, as his bride, we're coming back with him. He's going to be coming back on a white horse. That's in Revelation 19. And on his robe and on his thigh will have the name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's in Revelation 19 also. I was talking to Mary Marsh last week after the meeting, and she brought up something that I never given any thought about, but it's interesting. So, you know, in some churches, there are churches that are strong about tattoos. In fact, I've heard that they won't even let them uh, go up on stage. They won't let them be on the worship team or anything like that if they got a tattoo. Well, I wonder what they're going to say about Jesus with his tattoo down his leg. I thought that was a very good point that she brought up to me. So Jesus will say, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I want to see them put that down for that. Okay. The Mount of Olives then, when he steps forward on there, is going to split. And we'll find that in Zechariah 14. And the reason for that, this will make a way for the armies because they're getting set up for the Battle of Armageddon. This will make a way for the armies to be able to move through the land there and go towards the valley of Jezreel. Also, the Euphrates River will dry up so that the armies from the east will be able to travel and head towards that. And they'll be able to travel on dry ground. Now, the first thing you may be thinking is what I used to think. Why would you need to dry up the Euphrates River? Why would you need to travel on dry ground? You know, it makes it sound like the Bible says about them being on horseback. Why would they be on horseback? With all the stuff that they have out there today, they got all the planes, all the means of transportation. Well, you think about it. The earth just went through a huge tribulation. The earth is half destroyed. Over half the people are dead on earth. There's probably not going to be any fuel on earth because of all the destruction that's taken place on earth. And as far as electric, I seriously doubt if there's going to be any electric. There may be. I don't know how they're going to produce it because what's going to produce it? Where's the materials going to come from in order to produce electricity? So they very likely will be on horseback. And they will be heading towards the valley of Jezreel for this great battle. Now, the beast and the false prophet will be using signs and wonders to entice them. It's not that they, especially in the state that they're in, that they want to go charging that way, but the Antichrist and the false prophet will be encouraging them. They'll be using signs and wonders in order to lead them into this time frame. And I meant to put this up. Rick, if you would, can you give me a hand putting this up? Thanks, Rick. I tried to make it a little bit bigger than last week because I know it was pretty small last week. And there's so many different things to put on there. But as we said, the judgment seat of Christ, the marriage supper of the Lamb, Jesus returns with his bride, the Mount of Olives split, and the Euphrates River dries up. During this time, 2/3 of Jerusalem's population is going to die. 1/3 will live, and they will end up at Petro. That's a safe place for them to stay. And in fact, they will escape there. And they say that with the population today, it's approximately 4 million Jews that will end up there. Also, we find that in Zechariah 14, Jesus will go into Jerusalem and he will raise the Temple Mount And also, well, him or God, one of them is going to do it. Also, they will turn the temple, they will put the rebuilt temple, and it'll be 1 square mile. How they've come up with that, I don't seriously know. But that's in my notes and in my findings. That's why I found it. That's what it's going to do. Jesus then goes to the Jezreel Valley, where all these armies are gathered. And that's when our hero comes through. He probably would just say one word, die. And they're going to die, because every one of them will die at the Battle of Armageddon. So it's not going to really be any nuclear war. It's not really going to be any major war like that, because Jesus doesn't need that. Right? They're going to be gone. He's going to wipe them out. Then he's going to go to Petra, where the one-third of these that were spared, and that's in Zechariah as well. And also, during this time, I got ahead of myself. When he goes to Petra and he gathers up this 1/3 of the Jewish people, they will be given an opportunity to accept Jesus there. Now, whether they do or not, that'd be up to them. But also during this time, the false prophet, the Antichrist, they're going to be cast into the lake of fire, and they won't be on the scene anymore. Then everyone goes back from there to Jerusalem, and the resurrection of the tribulation saints will take place, and the ones martyred in the tribulation will be raised up. And this is found in Revelation 20. And there's going to be some who will make it through. I can't imagine it'd be very many, but there's going to be some who's going to make it through without taking the mark, and they'll make it through the tribulation and live. They will be able to go into the kingdom since they never took the mark. They will be able to get married, and they will be able to have children. Now, the ones with the resurrected bodies are not going to be able to. But these who are in the kingdom, they will still stay in human form, but they will be in the kingdom, and they will, like I say, be able to reproduce. I shouldn't put it that way. They ever have children, I guess. The ones who will not accept Jesus Christ, they will be sent to Hades and be waiting there in Hades, which Hades is a holding cell. It's like jail is for prison. And they will be sent there to await the great white throne judgment. During this time also, Satan is going to be bound, and he's going to be cast into the abyss, locked up. That's in Revelation 20. And he will be there for 1,000 years, and that's going to be the millennium period. Jesus is going to rule the earth during that time. And I'm sure that there's scripture saying that we will be given places of ruling ourselves, but Jesus is going to be the utmost authority during this particular time. And at the end of the 1,000 years, then Satan is going to be loosened. And he's going to roam through the earth. And he's going to go after those who really never accepted Christ. But say their parents were who didn't receive the resurrected body, are living there. Say his parents or their parents, he was born through them. It doesn't, how do I put it? But in other words, they will still be capable of sinning, and Satan knows this. He knows that they may not be a child of God, and he's going to round them up. And Satan's going to try one last time to go after Jesus. I mean, I don't know how you can be that foolish, but he's going to. He's going to gather these people up during this time, and then finally it says the angel comes down and Satan is grabbed and cast into the lake of fire forever. So he's not going to get away with it, and he will join his friends, the beast and the false prophet. In fact, I'm even ready to clap for that. Then the great white throne judgment is going to take place. And this is found in Revelation 20. And it's all the dead's going to be raised who's ever lived during this time. All the people that you know who have never accepted Christ and have turned their backs on him. All these people will be raised up, and they will have to face Jesus during that time, because they said Jesus will be the judge. And if their names are not found in the book of life, they will be cast into the lake of fire forever. Next, after the lake of fire, that's actually like the last thing that's going to happen until Jesus gives the reward. There's going to be a new heaven, and there's going to be a new earth. And that's found in Revelation 21:22. And I found this as I was studying. You know, no one could give us anything greater than Jesus. No one. But there's in a daily Bible study or daily reading that I have, Daily Bread is actually where it came from. It says in 1889, now that was a good while ago actually, but the most ambitious private home construction project in the United States began. On-site manufacturing produced some 32,000 bricks a day. The work continued until the completion of George Vanderbilt's It's Summer House, it's called, 6 years later. So Heather, yours wasn't all that long, right? The result was the Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina. To this day, it remains the largest private residence in America, with 250 rooms, including 35 bedrooms. You can put some people up in that place. 43 bathrooms. Can you imagine cleaning all of them? Consuming a staggering 178,926 square feet. What a place that would be, you know. But that's what man built. Now think about it, guys, what Jesus could build for us. I don't think it's going to be, I hear these people say, just give me a shack. No, 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 no. I want what Jesus has for me. Give me, Lord, what you have. And so I can just imagine, what's going to happen when he does hand out these awards. But we're going to go home. Another story that I heard that really touched me, there was a missionary couple. They served in Africa for 40 years. And their name's not important, but this was back in the late 1800s. They come back and they sailed into New York City after coming back from Africa. And on the ship was Thomas, the president used to go hunting all the time, Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was there. And all the people, or I shouldn't say all the people, but there was a great reunion when he got back. there was a great crowd, and they were cheering him on. They were all excited about it and him coming back and what he's done. And this missionary, he looked out. There wasn't one soul waiting for him after 40 years in service for the Lord. And he was downcast. He was hurt. And he said to his wife, he said, this really hurts me that not a soul could show up for me. So they got off the ship, and they went and got a room. And while they were in the room, she said, you're still hurting about this, aren't you? It's really getting you down. He said, yeah, I am. He said, I don't understand it. She said, why don't you go ahead and talk to God about it? He said, okay, I will. He went in. He came back out about 15 minutes later. And she said, did you talk to God? He said, yes, I did. She said, what did he tell you? He says, you're not home yet. Can you think of the reward, the reunion that he has for us? Can you think of how he's going to greet us, his bride? It's not going to be some light thing. So we have a lot to look forward to. And basically, we went through most of this. We've touched on some things very lightly. There is going to be a temple, and it actually comes out of Ezekiel. It was a promise given to the Jews, Ezekiel 37. There's also going to be a new heaven and new earth. I used to think that, Lord, you better come soon, because according to the dimensions, we're going to run out of room. Where are we going to stay? And it was long after that I was reading that if every Christian, I worded that wrong. If every person was a Christian and died and went to heaven, that there would still be 200 square miles for each person. I mean, it was like the Lord said, why are you worrying, Marv? You're not going to run out of room. And I'm not. But we will be able to even travel, at least the studies that I had, you will be able to travel back and forth from the temple up to, because there's not going to be a temple in the new city of Jerusalem. We'll be able to travel back and forth, and we'll probably be able to roam, who knows, all over. I assume that we'll be able to just think in our mind and just zap someplace. We don't have to worry about doing all that traveling, because we'll have the abilities that Christ had while he was here on earth. So I just want you to think about it. There's a great, great thing in store for us from Jesus. And guys, anyone, this is all serious, serious stuff. Anyone who needs Christ, get on your knees and pray for him. And every opportunity that you get that opens up, share Christ. It's going to be a terrible thing to have to go through that stuff. A terrible thing. But if we know Jesus, he's going to be with us all the way. Whether you want to believe that we go through the rapture, or whether, like myself, I believe that we're going to be raptured up first. No matter which way you want to believe, Jesus is going to make it right for us. We're his bride. Don't ever forget that. And so I thank you all for coming. I thank you during this time, and God bless you all. Thank you. So that's it.